Hi, guys. I was presented with a question that is a serious question, but it's a question that I really want to answer and look forward to answering. And some of you may not like what I said, but what I say, but it is my truth. It is the truth of a lot of women of color, and I'm here to talk about it. So the question is, how has being a woman of color shaped my journey? Now let's get into it because what has transpired with this past election between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump really kind of digs into being a woman of color in this country. We all witnessed the treatment of Kamala Harris by Donald Trump, and with the name calling, the denigration, the devaluing of her, these all of the names that she was called that didn't apply to her. This is a super extremely intelligent woman that was called low IQ by someone with a low IQ. She's extremely smart, she's extremely gifted, she's extreme in the positives in every way, but she was demonized before the public, and people bought into that demonization of her without having any evidence of anything. And it is so typical of the history of how black women have been treated in this country. So navigating as a black woman in this country has not been easy, and most black women in this country can tell you that that's the case. So when the question was posed to me, I'm like, do people really want to hear this answer? But they got to witness it during this past election. So when my ancestors were brought to this country, they were demonized. A narrative was created about them that was not true. And because we looked different from the popular majority, they believed the narrative. They bought into the narrative. We were demons. We were three quarters of a human being. We were lazy. We were all the negatives. And that narrative carried throughout the years down to the present day, and it made us feel inferior because not only did they buy into the narrative, our people bought into it also. So you have a group of people who were made to feel that they were superior, and another group that was made to feel inferior. And coupled with that information, you internalize those things into your self-image, and that becomes the narrative that's told down throughout the generations. It may not have been verbalized by the parents, but it was definitely felt about their own values. So when you buy into someone else's narrative of you, then you create a lifestyle of feeling inferior. And this has been a manifestation down the generations. So, but you as a person, as a human being, when you see this happening to your people, to yourself, then you try to find ways to either change the narrative or create your own narrative and navigate through this world. So, as a woman, it's hard enough trying to navigate through this country because the popular majority are males, and there's misogyny going on. And then, so coupled with being a female, then you're a black female. So you have a double strike against you in this country, not against you as a person. I love being a black woman. That's not a strike. It's not two strikes against me. It's two strikes against being that way in this country. I want to make that perfectly clear because society will tell you you have two strikes against you. You're a woman and you're a black woman. That's not against me. That's against the mentality of the people that runs this country, that sees me that way. I don't see myself that way. So with them seeing Kamala that way, they used that narrative against her and sold that narrative to other people. So being a black woman in this country has taught me to learn how to be strong like my ancestors were. They didn't have the luxury to fight against a lot that was going on like we can do now. We have to teach our daughters and our sons to love who they are and don't buy into someone else's narrative of you. The narrative that Donald Trump created of Kamala Harris was not true. And people believed those words because he repeated them over and over and over again. That's how a statement becomes a belief by repetition. When people hear it over and over and over again, as if it validates it, they believe it. And so the narrative that was created for her was also, is the perception that they have of black women. You know, they in saying that she slept her way. That's a belief that is already out there about black women anyway, that was started generations ago. So as a black woman, I've learned to create my own narrative and not allow somebody else to create the narrative for me. It's not easy being a black woman in this country because we have been treated the worst. It's bad enough that white women have been treated a certain way underneath the palms of white men because this is a misogynistic country. But when you're a woman of color and a woman, then you have a double strike against you by the people in this country. So, but anyway, what I wanted to say is human beings do not get to dictate to you who you are and what you are. God created each and every one of us. We are children from the Creator. Human beings don't dictate your value. If that happens, you've allowed it to happen. You bought into the narrative and you carry that narrative with you. I don't carry a narrative that other human beings have created of me. I know who I am. I know my strengths. I know my value. And it's not contingent on what other people think of me. It's what I know, is what I have to internalize, and it's what I believe. So being a black woman in this country, a lot of the disappointment that people are feeling now because of the election is what that disappointment has been a typical thing in the life of a black woman navigating through this life. I mean, some people don't stay in this country. Some black women have left this country because they see it as a place not really conducive for black women. A lot of us have navigated and made ourselves comfortable and know how to work around stuff. That's what we do. We persevere. We know how to get around. You know, the we have mastered the art of making do. And so I don't want to settle for the status quo of just bad treatment. You can't make somebody respect you, but you can carry yourself with respect in spite of how somebody feels about you or how they see you. Most things are based on people's perception, and that's how Donald Trump got elected. They perceived him to be a person that he was not. He's not a smart man. He's not a businessman. He's not a genius. He's a showman. He's a con artist, and he has learned to con majority of America. But I digress. I'm getting off into another case, but my question was posed to me: how have I navigated? How has being a woman of color influenced my journey, or how have I navigated being a woman of color on my journey. And I feel bad for the women that came before me, because they've gone through even worse. It should get easier, but sometimes, it doesn't. It's a lot of times we get disrespect from our own people. A lot of black women voted for Donald Trump. A lot of black men voted for Donald Trump, and it's amazing to me how people um, vote against their own self-interest, and a lot of times it's based on how they see themselves and how they see the other person. If you see that person as being in a position of authority over you, then you idolize them. I don't put any human being over me. We are all human beings. We are all on this level, so then any narrative that was created uh, past by the past of black women, I don't buy into that narrative. And I advise any black woman today not to buy into a narrative that was created by somebody else of you. You have your own power. Create your own narrative. As a matter of fact, every group, every person on this earth should take the time in their life and create your own narrative. Tell your own story. Don't ever give anybody the position to create your narrative. You create your own narrative. You tell your own story. That's the power that you have, and that's the power that God gave you. So don't buy into the foolishness of other human beings. This is a crazy world. People do crazy things, but you have to learn how to navigate around the crazy and keep your sanity and create your own narrative. Don't let somebody create the narrative for you. So that was a mouthful, and I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but it is what it is. And so this is what has been a woman of color has meant to me in this country. And the narrative or the journey has not been easy. And I don't expect when you're dealing with other human beings who you share this earth with, that it's going to be easy. This earth is here for each and every one of us to share, not for one particular group to try and dominate and take control. And this is what we have, people who want to be empowered over other human beings, and this is not what God intended for us to be like as human beings. But anyway, I digress, and that is the end of my story. I don't know, it may resonate with some of you, and then some of you it may not, but that's not my it's not my problem. So anyway, if it resonates with you, give me a thumbs up and a like, and if it doesn't, then it is what it is. So until tomorrow when I post my next video, you guys take care and have a peaceful evening.